And once we're okay, here we go. It always takes a little bit longer for YouTube to
Very
do that.
good.
But yeah, it looks like we're at least live one place or another. So welcome welcome everyone. Anyone who's watching right now, um, say hey, drop in the comments, let us know where you're watching from and what you're up to. Drop in your name. I always like to see who's in here, and as we are talking today, feel free to drop any questions in the comments. Join the conversation. That's why we do these live, so that y'all can be part of the conversation with us and ask those questions, because a lot of times I'm listening to podcasts and then the host does not ask the question that I'm wondering as I'm listening to it, and I'm like, yeah, but what about this? So this is your chance to be
Mm.
like, yeah, but what about this? And then yeah, I'll bring that in when it makes sense. But yeah, looks like we're all good. Irwin, I guess we can go ahead and start the podcast. And probably should have asked you this before we got started, but pronounce your last name How?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spot on. I think you're one of the
Okay.
few who actually get it and stuff. How do you make a website convert? So absolutely.
Nice. Tie it all in.
Yeah, you got to
Okay.
link it all together.
Exactly. Okay. Well, sweet. Well, Erwin, welcome to the podcast. I am very excited to chat with you today. Just like your energy and the pre-show banter that we've had, I'm like, this is gonna be a fun conversation. This
Yeah,
is gonna
love
be
it.
good. It is like afternoon for you right now, and it is like almost 10 o'clock for me at night. So the high energy is definitely something that
I'll
I
keep you
need
awake, my
at
friend.
the end
We'll
of the
keep you
day.
awake.
Yeah, I'm
Love
like,
it.
I had my last coffee was
Yeah.
hours and hours ago. So, but yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm excited to chat.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. And yes, I'll definitely keep you awake, hopefully, and stuff. So
Cool,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, no, it'll be fun. Well, can you give us a little background about you, where you're based, all the things you do?
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name's Irwin. Irwin is in Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. Yes, we are down in Australia, so that kind of helps to tie that in together. And yeah, I actually I come from an ad agency background. I used to work for the two top ad agency down here in Melbourne, Australia. So I used to work for George Pat's, Clemenger BBDO, as everyone knows, BBDO worldwide. And rather than work for the man, I thought I'd be the man. And so I decided to break out and start my own agency in 2009. And so I started actually I have a few other small ventures, we'll call it, little adventures. But my main agency is Chromatics. And so we make websites that make your phone ring. It's as simple as that. And so it's been a bit of a journey. It's 14 years now. We've built it up to a certain level. We have easily 10 plus staff. We've won 80 something design awards and mentions. I've analyzed personally 60,000 websites myself. And I can't wait to kind of, get into things and break things apart, rip apart, and share whatever I can as well. And so, outside of doing all that, I also do own my own SaaS company as well called Conversion Cow. And outside of that, I'm a dad of two beautiful daughters. I also have a furry friend called Muffin, who is our new Groodle. And I thought we'd never have kids again, but getting a puppy
Yeah.
absolutely wrecks you. So if you're listening and you're thinking of not having kids again, please don't get a puppy. Is my 2 cents. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. How old are your kids, if you don't mind me
My
asking?
kids are much older now and stuff. So they're about 12 and 10, I think. Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah.
getting older. I'm not
Yeah.
hopefully too old, but yeah.
I was gonna say it sounds like they're older, since you're like, it's like having a young kid again, because like we my wife and I, we have our youngest is 2.5, so we're still in
Mm,
that young kid stage. We've had someone in diapers in the house for the last
absolutely.
8-9 years. So yeah, we're like, we will get a pet
Yeah.
later on. We're still, yeah,
Later
yeah.
on. Yeah. We'll
Young
put that on
kids are
the
much
we'll do
later.
later list. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, whenever they can help take care of it, that sounds like a great time to get a pet.
For sure. For sure.
But yeah, well, awesome. That's very cool. It's that sounds like a lot that you're doing, and I love the design work and all of that. And congrats on 14
Thank
years.
you.
That is a long time for a for an entrepreneur to be in a business. I know a lot of self-employed businesses end up kind of shutting down after 3 years. It's really hard to get over
Mm.
that hump, and I'm sure a lot of people listening right now are like, "Yeah, I'm in my third year, and it is really hard to
Yeah.
get over this hump right now."
Well,
Um,
they do say after 7 years, there's a bit of a 7 year itch of doing something else. And so now that we're
mhm.
14, so I guess I've had two itches and I'm still here. So call me crazy. So yeah.
Well, cool. What got you into design and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been fascinated about design, not just for the aesthetic look side of things,
Hmm.
but more the psychology of how design can move us, can
Mm.
change us, can really yeah, I guess we might have a certain thought on something, and then suddenly like, whoa, I can shift that perspective and stuff. So I'm more fascinated not just by design alone. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like a good font, maybe not Comic Sans, and I love a good
It's
image,
not.
and did photography, and I love. I'm looking at that depth of field on your end, loving all that. But to me, design creates a mood.
Mm.
There's a lot of psychology, persuasion, influence in the way we present colors and how we analyze colors and design. So, yeah, that's what gets me going. Mm.
That's awesome. Yeah. That is something that I as I was really like my first rebrand, cuz I probably after about 3 years I was like I should probably have a logo or something, or like brand colors.
Mm.
And around that time I started looking into all that and working with a designer and learning about the psychology of certain colors whenever you're picking your brand colors, and that, you shouldn't just go with your favorite color because it may not
Oh,
like
yeah,
psychologically be bringing in the what what you're wanting. Could you speak to that? I know there's like a ton about the psychology
yeah,
of colors and all that, but maybe
yeah.
just a couple points there.
Yeah, for sure. I think the key word I always say is the word intentional. When you design something, when you choose a color, or when you choose a font, when you choose an image, everything has to be done with intention. You don't just slap it on because, like you said, you don't just choose it because it's your favorite color. Trust me, if I was able to use my favorite color, everything would be green. But you know what? Green's a horrid. Well, apologies for anyone listening who has a green logo. Nothing wrong, but just for me, it just doesn't work because it looks a bit Shrek-like, sort of thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we want to use colors that have purpose with good intention and stuff. So absolutely, branding, and let's go back a step before web design. Branding is actually very important. Not just the colors, but even the words you use, the name, the meaning. It all evokes, and here's the key word, emotion. And
Yes.
so, how do we play with that emotion in a way that speaks loudly for your business? We're not here to manipulate someone, to trick someone. But hey, let's be honest, we all make judgments on things we see. And so, yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that that differentiation that you made there of like we're not trying to manipulate people
Mm,
into like that. I don't know, it almost feels like that like sleazy car salesman type deal of like I'm
yeah,
gonna pull you in for
it's good,
this and I'm gonna upsell, and yeah, I'm just like a little miser over there. But like it's that persuasion of you want your target clients as they're interacting with your brand
mm,
to have a certain feeling and a certain emotion, and
absolutely,
there are
yeah,
certain ways that you can do to persuade
yeah.
them to have that emotion.
Yeah. And I always say, we're here to tell the truth with passion. That's all
Mm,
it is. And if I can't help you, then don't pick me. I'm actually not the right fit. And so let's make it really clean. Let's make it really simple. And that's all we need to be and stuff. So, yeah, that's it.
yeah, yeah. So what are some ways that we can incorporate that kind of persuasion and influence through our brand, through the way that we show up for our clients?
Yeah. I was actually doing a video for someone else just about the little things. It's the little things that we do that add a lot of impact to just the way we're portrayed. And so here's a common one that I see clients have. They have fuzzy photos or cheap stock images. You
Yep.
do know that affects the way we see websites and stuff. And here's a funny analogy I actually heard on the radio. There's this radio presenter, and he was actually sharing about this story about what does the inside of your car look like. Right? That was this topic. What does the inside of your car look like? I don't know about you, but for me, the inside of my car, it's pretty messy.
Yeah.
Leftover Macca's, yesterday's takeout, all that kind of stuff, right? For my missus, her car is absolutely immaculate. It is clean. It's too sickly clean, right?
Yeah.
And what the guy was saying is based on psychology, and as a fun demonstration. And please, John, have a think about what your car's like, the interior.
Yeah.
The interior of
A
your
lot like
car,
yours,
yeah,
Irwin. It
yeah,
looks a lot
the
like yours.
interior of your car represents the type of person you are inside. That's actually what the radio host was saying. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe I'm a bit of a ordered chaos inside. I'm a bit messy. But it's actually wrong. My wife is very orderly, very structured, very clean. But I kind of apply this to our designs, our websites. Our designs and our websites represent us. So if our design is busy and messy, then it kind of shows that the professionalism, our product, our service is messy as well. And so that's why we need to clean up these little things. So coming back to design, so if you're using a cheap stock image, or you're using colors that just are really just don't blend well together, or you're using like 4 different fonts on this one small design area,
Uh-huh.
it kind of has this sense of you don't know what you're doing. And you're actually not as structured, you're not as professional, you're not as clean as what you really are. And so I always say, hey, let's go back to basics. Let's just get the simple things down. And then let's make certain elements just pop in really good, clean fonts, clean photos, clean videos to really make it come alive. That's my interpretation, but that's just how I see it. And hopefully it kind of inspires others to go, hey, number one, what can I clean up in my website or design? And maybe we should clean the inside of our cars as well. So, yeah, after this.
Yeah. Yeah, once a good annual cleaning of the car is in store for sure. But yeah, I mean, you mentioning like all the different fonts. I don't know how many websites I've gone to, like doing either website
Mm,
audits or critiques or something for mentees, and just all the different fonts. I mean, one just on like the engine of your website, it's going to be slower the more fonts you have loaded
mm,
in there. um
100%.
yeah, but then it's just like you were saying, just super messy too, seeing all of these different fonts and your brain changing from, oh, we got Comic Sans over here, and now, Times New Roman, and like all of these going back and forth. But yeah, I love that, just kind of keeping it simple, back to the basics, picking one or two good fonts to really kind of have as throughout your whole
Mm,
site, and in your branding
100%.
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's so good. And yeah, and of course to the pictures too. It's especially for, I know a lot of the audience, a lot of the listeners are photographers. I'm also a photographer, and that's also something that sometimes I see photographers have blurry photos. I know that's kind of
Mm,
a trend right now, but like unintentionally blurry photos, just like poor quality or
yeah,
pixelated, and that is a big turn off. Even if your client is not looking to hire a photographer, it's a huge turn off. It seems cheap,
for
and like
sure.
you didn't really pay too much attention. You're just
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'll just throw this up there as a screenshot from my phone,
Mm,
whatever. It'll work.
yeah. And I think if you haven't learned anything else from Steve Jobs, though he's actually done so much, I guess, in the design world,
Oh yeah,
less really is more. It actually takes more brain power to try to simplify something than to just go, you know what, let's just smatter everything on the screen. Or if you're in photography, let's put everything into it. No, actually, the less there is, the more focus there is, the
yeah.
more intention, the more it just really pops. And
Hmm.
so I've trained all my designers and the people I mentor as well. I just go, if you can't say it in a few words, or you can't use a few pictures, adding more to it just it makes it more busy. It actually doesn't add any more substance. And that's what we would go. We'd rather go for quality than quantity. And so,
Yeah,
yeah. Mm.
yeah. I feel like that I'm very long-winded, especially when it comes to like writing my own copy and everything. I'm just like, oh, I've gotta put this in there. And I go, I mean, it's in the name of the show. I'd go off tangents all the time. And I do that too, where I'm just like, oh, well, they need to know this, and I'll put this in there. And my about me page was just like scrolling for days. I'm like, and finally I went through and like tried to read it, and I was like, I can't
Mm.
even follow what I'm trying to say
Yeah,
here,
no, for sure.
much less someone who knows nothing about me and they're coming here to learn about me.
Mm.
Um, but like you think about like the really big companies like Nike, like their slogan is just do it. It's like super whittled down, 3 words. There's not a lot in there of like be the best athlete and go do the things you want to do. It's like that is what that means, but it's very simplified and
Mm.
a lot of just like white space all around it, to where it's just that focus, like you said, the less there is, the more the focus is on their phrase, what they want you to
100%.
feel whenever you're dealing with their brand.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, this is fun. I love psychology and just like why we think certain things, and why um, like
Hmm.
even subconsciously, uh, why we do the things that we do, and all of this like with branding too is just like marrying two things together that I love to talk about all the time. Are there anything like or some ways, like what are some ways that we can connect with our clients and really build that connection through our branding, through how we interact with them online?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've talked about color and stuff, so being intentional with the colors that we use in our branding when it comes to. So I'm going to cover a bit of everything for design. So when it comes to branding, less is more. Keep it simple. I mean, all the normal design aspects, in terms of visual hierarchy, visual cues, all that kind of stuff. But remember, design incorporates not just imagery and colors, but also text as well, content. And I think the biggest thing is we need to understand the purpose of the design piece we're doing. And so I'm just want to play more on the website side, if you don't mind, just for a second, because
Oh yeah.
having analyzed that many websites and owning a web agency and dealing with people's websites all the time, we realize that web design shouldn't, in my eyes, sometimes shouldn't actually be called web design. Should actually be called web sales with design. And so
Mm.
what I mean by that is I find a lot of designers, they approach the project to make something visually stunning. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if anything, I love a fantastic, good looking website. But the website has a purpose. And I guess maybe I stumble across a lot of clients who have a website, a business to business or business consumer. The website has a purpose. That purpose is let's get a lead. Let's actually get some sales, right? So for me, what is the purpose of the site? And if the purpose is sales, then do we really care as much about it? And don't get me wrong, I'm a creative director, I love design and stuff like that. Then should we really be focusing on, say, for example, fonts, colors, brands, or should we also focus on how do we make someone do something and feel, and here's the key word, trust, confidence in the business. And so to me, I believe designers need to learn sales skills. And sales skills, not as in how to be a slimy salesperson stuff, please don't do that, but the sales psychology. And let's break it really simple. And we call it the sales summary sequence. It's really simple. Who are you? What do you do? Why should I choose you? How do I get in touch with you? It's as simple as that.
Okay.
So, who are you? What do you do? Why should I choose you or prove what you say is true? How do I get in touch with you? It's really simple. And if you can't remember that, think about the best first date you ever went on. And I have to say best date. I just have said to some people, think of a date and they kind of cringe a little bit. You would have actually asked the same questions. I know it's not a
Right.
sales pitch, but in some ways it is. Who are you? What do you do? Why should I choose you? Or tell me more about you. We'll call it, because it's a bit rude if you say, why should I choose you?
Right.
Everyone thinks that. And then, hey, can I get a second date? Can I get that third date? Can I? Because
Mm-hmm.
again, we can't pitch marriage off the bat and stuff. And so, yeah, just having these sales psychology principles in mind will actually help to enhance. And imagine taking that and blending it with great design. When
Mm-hmm.
these two things come together, you become Captain Planet, and you're actually going to kill it for a website. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That idea of like really getting to know them and allowing them to get to know you through your website and asking yourself those questions, which I think is so great. So everyone listening right now, like write down those questions. I'll have them in the show notes too, and you can answer those if you don't have that answered for your business, because like that is essentially they're on a first date with you as they're
Mm,
checking out your website, and they're like, okay, who is this person? Like why should I choose you over the other 10 tabs that I have open right now that I've been looking at all
yeah,
day? And yeah, that like that differentiating factor of, hey, this is what makes me special, this is how I'm going to make you feel whenever you're working with me, and having that um, on your website, that just it's very clear, um, and not like how how I was talking about earlier, where you're just like, paragraph and paragraph about like everything, because no one's going to read paragraphs unless it's like
mm,
John checking out your website or something, and just like, oh, what did John put over here? And but yeah, anyone who's on a first date does not want to hear a 30-minute spiel about why it is that blue is their favorite color.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So what are like maybe some next steps once we've had answered these questions, and starting to figure out how to put those answers out there, for our target clients to see? What are some next steps that the listeners can do, just kind of moving forward from there?
So you just broke out that last one. Do you mind just resharing that one again, if you don't mind?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. So once we've answered those four questions of like who it is that we are, what makes us different, and why should they choose us, and how can they contact us? Um, how can we start putting that out there, and kind of like maybe reshaping, either website or social media,
Yeah, for
or
sure.
the emails, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think definitely they say if you fail to plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so before doing any piece,
Mm-hmm.
again, we can also redo pieces. And so you might, so for anyone who's listening, and again, let's just take a focus on websites for a moment. Look at your own website. Is it clear the moment you get there? So there's really three versions I see. One is when you first get there, and please don't scroll. It's the first thing that you see. Am I confident with, well, so firstly, does it even get your attention? I think, well, let's even start there, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
like at first date, right? If I walk past and you look at me and I don't even get your attention, we're not going to get into the questions, right? So number
Uh-huh.
one, can get their attention, right? But once you do, let's just talk about the homepage, the whole top to bottom. See if it answers and see how quickly it takes you to answer the questions of who are you, what do you do, how do I get in touch with you, or why should I choose you, and how do I get in touch with you?
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard to find? Did we hide the buttons? Did we obscure certain things because of the color choices we've made? Have we even mentioned it enough times, or have we even mentioned it at all to get in touch? Or, and my favorite one is people go, oh, we've done some big work for some big clients, but it's on this page, it's on the About Us page, or it's hidden somewhere else. I'm like, but that's the best thing you had going for you.
Right.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
that be like, shouldn't you lead with that one? Like, how many times have we gone on a date? And at the end of the date, everyone's tired, and then you bring up something like, well, why don't you start with that?
Right. Yeah.
So when we look at our own designs and stuff, have a think about it. I mean, and here's a great question. Would you choose yourself? Would you choose your own company?
Yeah.
Is it convincing enough? Not does it look pretty? Does it look, no, I've seen some beautiful websites and I just go, oh, so beautiful. I'd never choose them. They look stunning, but wouldn't want to talk to them. Why? Because I can't find their details. I don't know why I should talk to them.
Yep.
So it's just thinking through those logical steps that tie in both emotion, that always goes first, then the logic of who are you, what do you do, why is she choosing, how to get into it, and then that's where the action happens. So
Yeah.
heart, head, then the hands.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. The just like would you actually choose yourself? Does it make sense whenever you're going on your own website? It's like, oh yeah, is this I like this photo that I have like my hero image across, but is it a stunner? Is it
Yeah.
something that's causing people to stop and be like, "Ooh, okay, let me scroll down a
Mm,
little bit, learn some more." Or does it even align with your brand? Because it may just be
yeah.
something that you're like, people would probably like this, but then
Mm,
it doesn't match your
yeah.
brand.
And you said something really interesting there, John. A lot of times, a lot of clients even come to us and say, "Oh, I love this photo. I love this picture. I love the way we've worded it." I'm like, but you're using your own jargon. You like it because your staff member, it's your staff member or your partner who took that photo, but it's never been about you. It's about what your customer wants. And so sometimes we even have, because I usually say if we're in a boardroom or something like that with a client, we go, do you know who the most important person in this room is? None of us. Because unless we're the target market and stuff like that, it doesn't really what I say as an agency or a creative director or as a client. It's what your customer says. And so looking at designs that resonate with the customer, looking at the text, resonating with it, even the overall style and the design of a design piece. But Erwin, I love this style of it. You know what? But will your customer like it? So let's take the focus off ourselves and put it back on the customer because they're the ones we're really looking after. So yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Just like looking at it through their eyes. Like get yourself out of the picture completely. Because just like we were talking about, brand colors and choosing, my favorite color is purple, and I'm just like, purple is not a great brand color for me. But like that would have been something that I would have chosen at 23, 24, whenever I started this
Mm,
business, and just being like, I like purple. I'm going to put that all over my website. But like getting yourself out of the way, moving all of your biases and everything just to
100%.
I'm out of here, and try to put yourself in your target client's shoes to where like, okay, what do they want? What do they like? What would they want to see? How do they want to feel whenever they're on your site? And is that matching up with what it is? So yeah, that is so powerful, Irwin. I love that. Okay. Any last things to leave the listeners with before we wrap up our conversation?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just realizing that every piece of design is your only shot on building a certain perspective in the customer's heart and stuff. So you have it's like a one sales chance.
Mm,
Make it a good one. Don't skimp out. And so I have clients who go, oh, I'm not going to get a photo shoot. I'm just going to use a stock image, or oh, I don't need. Actually, you have one shot. It's kind of like going again using that first date analogy. You know what? I'm not going to dress up today. I couldn't be bothered getting out the nice suit. I'm just going to wear this one. Sort of thing. Buddy, you've got one shot. It's not like you go, okay, whoops, I stuffed up. Let's go do it again.
right.
So make every design count and know that every piece of design that you make in a business setting has a certain purpose. And usually 80, 90% of people we talk to, it's a sales one. So let's use good psychology to bring out the best in what you do. Say it with absolute passion and truth. And if people don't like it, they're not the right customer. Simple as that.
Yes. Oh man, Erwin, I love that. That is such a good word to kind of wrap this all up in. It's that is so good. Okay. Well, cool. Well, before we kind of get into where people can find you online and follow along and say hey and all of that, there's part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving this week, and it can literally be anything. It could be a movie or a new book or something, or just the weather outside or whatever. Is there something that you're loving this week, Erwin?
Something I love. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Anything. I've just been doing a lot of SaaS things to do with software as a service and stuff like that. So I still have to bring it back to what I love. But I love looking at business models at the moment, different types. But the whole recurring revenue thing is something that's really fascinating me about business models. And just when we start businesses, don't just start doing things that you love. Start with the business model in mind first. And that's why I'm building Conversion Cow at the moment, which is my new SaaS. It's completely built off a smart business kind of structure first, which is recurring revenue as a software, but it also has to give value at the same time. So that's my business side. From a likes and personal perspective, I've really enjoyed gin. Gin's something that I've just got into because a client of mine does gin. It's really big here at the moment. So trying different gins, I think, is the more fun version of that answer. So
nice. Is there a favorite that you've tried so far?
Well, actually, just a shout out to Puss and Mew. It's called Puss and Mew, and no, loving the flavors and stuff. They've got a really interesting, spicy Turkish delight, which has definitely delighted me. So that's a really nice, interesting flavor to try as a gin and tonic. So
yeah, that would be very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to look for that and see if I can find that. That'd be interesting. I like a good gin and tonic.
oh,
I mean, kind of going along with this whole conversation of just like it's simple and it really works. Like there's not a bunch of ingredients. There's not, 4 or 5 this and like muddle this thing in there and shake this and pour it
keep
over.
it
It's
clean.
just keeping it
Keep it
clean.
simple.
A G&T. It's just it's classic. It's very good. So yeah, okay, cool. I'm gonna have to look up that gin. Well, sweet. Let's see, what am I loving this week? I'm loving a few things. Oh, something new today, actually. My dad has a podcast now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, his podcast just came out today. It's long story. I'm gonna try and cut it really short, but you can listen to his podcast to hear more about the story. Um, but he was wrongly convicted of a crime back in the early 90s, and they had withheld evidence that proved that he was innocent. So since then been able to prove and like find that evidence and show all of that, and he
That's
was
awesome.
exonerated and everything, which is amazing. But it was like 23 years later.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was a lot. So he is putting together um, well, one, a documentary about himself and hundreds of other people who have been exonerated from evidence that was withheld in their trials, but also moving this, like taking it to the Supreme Court to change the law across the board. Because here in America, here in Texas, the district that we're under, it's completely legal for them to withhold evidence that proves that you're innocent. Um, which doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, if that's something that interests you, or if you want to join the movement, watch the uh, documentary. And we're working on it right now. My brother's a filmmaker, so he's heading up all of that and directing it. But yeah,
Fantastic.
the podcast is called Clearing the Record, and they're going to be interviewing a lot of other people who were wrongly convicted and were innocent, yet convicted. So yeah, Clearing the
That'd be
Record.
fascinating to listen to. Actually, that's yeah, and I can only imagine what he's gone through and just that journey. Really, at
Oh
the end of
yeah.
the day,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's been a lot.
it's been a long
But
ride.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're very hopeful for some change. So yeah, and it's fun just being like, yeah, my dad has a podcast now.
Well, thanks for sharing. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was something that I didn't know that he was launching it today, and then it just like popped up on my Spotify feed, and I was like, oh, cool. He launched the first episode.
Yeah.
So as we're recording this, first episode is out today. But yeah, okay, cool. Irwin, where can people find you online? Where can they follow along, check out your companies, all those kinds of things?
Yeah, for sure. Well, for anyone who wants to connect with me, you definitely need to jump on LinkedIn. My name is Irwin. Irwin is in Steve Irwin, IRWIN, and Hau, HAU. So that's on LinkedIn. If you want to find my company, I run Chromatix, so and the SaaS company is Conversion Cow. It's kind of like how you have MailChimp and SurveyMonkey. You always need what you do and an animal at the end. So I went with Conversion Cow to milk your website for more leads or beef up your website. So that's conversioncow.com, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. I love the cow puns. This is so good. Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you, Irwin. This has been a delight. I've really enjoyed our conversation today.
No, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, everyone watching live here, and if you're watching the replays, hey as well. But yeah, we'll see you for